Snooker, Loopy, nuts are we, me and him and them and me. We'll show you what we can do with a load of balls of the snooker cue. Pot the red and screw back for the yellow, green, brown, blue, pink and black. Snooker, Loopy, nuts are we. We're all snooker, Loopy. Cheers, boys.
Hello and welcome to our daily rundown of what is happening at the World Snooker Championship. This is the Snooker Loopy daily podcast where every day we'll give you a little insight of our opinion of what's happening and have one of our little features along the way. So my name is Tom Mayhew and I'm joined by my very good friend. Some say he has a passing resemblance to me. It's the very handsome Joe Hannard.
Wow. Good evening, Hazel. Or good morning, Hazel. Good morning, everybody at home. Yes, welcome to our daily roundups. You know, this is how it all started, didn't it? With the Crucible chats, Tom. I think we had. I can't remember whether that was 2 or 3 years ago when we did that, but yeah, we called them Crucible chats, and it's evolved into what is now the Snooker Loopy podcast. But day one already done. Only 16 days to go, Tom. And already a massive story, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
I should say my introduction was a reference to how Rob Walker introduced Tom Ford. Joe doesn't really look like me,
Yes.
just in case listeners were confused.
Yes.
But that is how Rob Walker introduced Tom Ford.
No, he's rather milking that joke, isn't he? So... yeah, it's an odd one. But of course, the big story from yesterday is that the defending champion, Luca Brissell, is already out. And I was calling it Brissell-exit, but, you know, trying to get Brexit in there.
Yeah, that's the comeback we've all been waiting for, Joe. We just can't... Everyone sat around going, we need more Brexit chat. We've really missed it these past few years.
Yeah, and then because where we record it on Squadcast, it allows you to put your pronouns in. So I was trying to get it to be Luke Gone instead of Luca, Luke Gone, but it wouldn't let me for some reason. It was really bizarre. It just said try again. I tried to have it with a hyphen in there. I had to make it all one word. How dare they do that? But yes, Luca's gone. I have to say I'm not that surprised. I know we talked about that possibility in the preview. Now, I watched pretty much every shot of that match yesterday, Tom, and I have to say, from moment one, Luca didn't look right. He was coughing, spluttering all over. Paul Collier said as he come out, "Oh, have you not got a bow tie?" So it all started... Pretty rough for Luca. He was just quite lucky that early on Dave Gilbert just wasn't playing well. So I think that masked it somewhat. He did get, I think, 2 or 3 centuries in the match. You know, he played well in parts, but didn't seem to have any match play about him. There was quite a few times he was just smacking the balls about. One of which was in the frame that he went 9-6 up, actually. I don't know how much of it you watched, Tom. I know you were fairly busy yesterday.
I watched maybe half of it. I actually came home last night, and even though I knew the result, I still wanted to make sure I'd watched a good chunk of it. So I watched it on iPlayer, and my general feeling was that Luca wasn't feeling very well, and that just fed into his mentality where he just doesn't care much, not in a slagging him off way, but I think that's part of why he does well. Is he just is a very free player. He just will bang a shot about, and I think when he's feeling rough, it just exuberated that. And it was good for fans of Stephen Hendry saying a shot was careless, because he said that quite a lot in the match.
He did, yeah. I mean, it was quite bizarre in the closing moments. The last couple of frames, Hendry and Virgo were just sort of bemused by everything that was happening. It was quite funny, really. But Brissell was 55-1 ahead in frame 16, and he was 51-6 ahead in frame 18, and didn't end up winning in the end. It just wasn't meant to be, I think. But it was interesting, his comments before the match. BBC had interviewed him, and he'd said, "Oh, I don't think this limelight is cut out for me. I prefer being under the radar. So I'm not really enjoying the pressure of being defending champion." And I thought that was very telling. So he went in with negative thoughts, and he was so desperate to get over the line, because had he won that match, as we said, that I think the draw would open up for him. We said it in our preview video yesterday that if he was to get through that match, he could well go on a bit of a run. But it didn't happen, and it's quite a funny record that he has, that in all of his Crucible appearances, they are round one exits, a lot of them in deciders, and the only anomaly to that is 2023 when he went and won the event. So, in the first round it was a decider, so he could have went out in the first round there. We could have been talking right now about how Luca Brissell hasn't still never won a match at the Crucible. Isn't that bizarre?
So does that mean, based on that record, every time he wins in the first round, he's guaranteed to win it? Is that just how it works? Like, if he
well, that's what the statistics are saying,
statistically,
Tom.
If he gets through the first round, he's guaranteed to win it, so we may as well just end the World Championship there. Just go, nope, we're cancelling the rest of it. It's over, Brissell's won.
Absolutely. But, well played to Dave Gilbert. He was visibly shaken at the end of the match. I think, it meant so much to him. And, I think now the draw opens up for him somewhat to at least make a run to the quarterfinals. And, he'll fancy his chances, I think, of maybe even getting to the one table set up again, looking at the top half of the draw. But, good to see Dave Gilbert get through, and it clearly meant a lot to him, so I was very happy to see that.
Well, I think it meant a lot to him because he actually has a similar record to Brissell in that he got to the semi-finals that year, but apart from that, he's only ever won one other match, so this was only his second ever win apart from that year, which, it shows how random sometimes the World Championship can be. Because when he got to the semi-final, we all thought he was going to be a top 16 player for ages, and he was for a while, but he didn't kick on at the Crucible.
Yeah, very similar to a Jack Lazowski, I suppose, of, people that have knocked around the top 16 for a while and then just seem to drop out. It remains to be seen whether Lazowski will ever win a tournament. Dave Gilbert obviously won the Championship League, I think, but I think even he would say that doesn't really count in terms of, what he wants to win. He wants to win a proper ranking event, and, hopefully that victory yesterday will give him back some confidence, because he's gone missing the last couple of years, so fingers crossed he will be back. But, of course, yesterday wasn't all about Luca Brissell. There were 3 other matches going on yesterday, or maybe even four other matches. We did have Zhang Anda versus Jack Jones on the other side of the arena, 10 o'clock yesterday, and well, it was pretty slow going. They were hauled off with Jack Jones 5-2 in front. Certainly the bits I tuned into, Zhang didn't seem to be playing well at all, and Jack Jones, although he's 5-2 up, wasn't exactly knocking in a century break every frame. So that one could be a grueling affair. I don't know when they're next back on, actually, but it's this morning. So they could be hauled off again before the afternoon session if that match goes close, because they're 2 frames behind already.
Well, this morning is Jack Jones against Zhang Anda, and the other match is Mark Selby against Joe O'Connor. So I think I'd call it a morning for the purists, not the the exciting snooker.
It's a good morning to have a lie in, probably.
Well, we're podcasting, we're not watching, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And we're Snooker Loopy, Joe.
It'll be... yeah, that's true. So, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Obviously, Zhang Anda, I think, is perfectly capable of a comeback, but actually, it's only his 4th ever match at the Crucible. Hasn't been there since 2015, I believe. So it's a long time. It might be a bit more recent than that. I'm not entirely sure, but he's not won a match there before. And Jack Jones, of course, got the quarterfinal last year. So weirdly, he's almost the more comfortable of the two players. But we'll see how it goes. In the afternoon session, I don't know how much you watched of Judd Trump and Hossein Vafai, but
I watched the opening 5 frames, and it was just a real case of Hossein getting in first, making a decent 50-odd break, breaking down, and then Judd clearing up.
Yeah. Honestly, it could have been 7-2, 8-1 Hossein Vafai. That sounds ridiculous to say when he's 6-3 behind, but Vafai was getting in. He was, as you say, scoring 50-plus breaks, then Trump was sort of clearing up. To his credit, you know, he pulled off some great clearances, actually, Judd, and Hossein will be absolutely kicking himself. But if he can come out this afternoon and win, 3 of the opening 4 frames, I think that match could go very, very close. I think Hossein's playing well.
They did the BBC graphic, and it said they both had like the same number of points, even though Judd is 6-3 up, which shows how crazy the match kind of was. And
was 6-2 up, really, really bizarre. And on the other side of the arena, Stephen Maguire started really quickly. I think he's had a couple of centuries already in that match, and somehow finds himself 5-4 behind. He was, I think it was 3-all, and he was in amongst the balls, missed a black off the spot, just as Joe Perry was saying, he's not made any careless mistakes this morning or this afternoon.
Joe.
And then literally the next shot, Maguire misses the black off the spot, and I think Ali won the next 2, and Stephen Maguire will not believe that he's behind in that match, but nice close one, 5-4. Hopefully that one will run close.
There we go. Well, that's our little recap of all the matches. So we've only got one.
Not all the matches, Tom. There's one more.
Not. Sorry,
There's one more with Rob Walker's twin.
Of course. Sorry. Right. Well, I'll re-edit that. Joe, I think there's one more match to talk about, right? God, let's chat about...
There is one more match. Not that you knew about it, Tom, but, especially considering the guy's name is literally Tom, Tom Ford. But, Tom Ford versus Ricky Walden. And funnily enough, that match is almost a carbon copy of the Judd Trump Hossein Vafai match. It was lots of Ricky Walden getting 50-60 and then Tom Ford clearing up. So, very similar match there. I think Tom Ford's playing well. Ricky Walden is playing okay, but is missing too many easy shots in around the 50-60 mark. So again, Ricky Walden, just like Hossein, has to tighten up a little bit in the second session. And I think if he does, then he's got every chance, because last year he got a good comeback against Luca Brissell, brought it back to 9-all. So, and then Brissell just, was incredible there from that moment onwards in the championship, really. So, it'll be an interesting one, because Tom Ford, he's a good break builder, and I think he could be quite dangerous if he gets going in this tournament. But yeah, he hasn't played there since 2020 either. Weirdly, Ricky Walden has played a lot more times at the Crucible than Tom Ford has, so it's one of those bizarre matches. And I don't think Tom Ford's ever won a match at the Crucible. So again, it's a bizarre matchup. But 6-3 to Tom Ford. Again, I think Ricky Walden needs to win the 3 of the opening 4 frames and make that 7-6, and that could go all the way as well. But before we continue, Tom, I was having a little look on the bookies odds before the tournament, because I put on my annual accumulator of the 16 matches that I predicted. So I could win $6,500 if it all goes the way that I predicted.
Who did you predict in the Brissell-Gilbert match?
Gilbert.
Okay,
I went with exactly what we talked about in our preview.
So you're 1/16 of the way. So yeah, pressure's on.
I'm 1/16 of the way, yeah. I think that the best I've ever done is about 11 or 12, I think, out of 16. So, yeah. But anyway, looking at the odds to win the whole tournament, obviously it's what you'd expect. Ronnie O'Sullivan, the favourite. There's also a category to reach the final. Again, it's in that list. But what was intriguing to me is that there's also odds for who will make the highest break in the tournament. Now, that was also ranked on your likelihood to win the whole tournament. So that means Stuart Bingham, for instance, was 26-1 to make the tournament highest break. Dominic Dale, 250-1 to make the tournament highest break. It feels like the bookies are making a big mistake here, because literally any of those players could get down and knock in a 147. So just to the listeners at home, if you are, wanting to flutter, put £1 on every player to make the tournament break, and you're very likely to, at the very least, make your money back. So,
well, Stuart Bingham, I think he's made something like the third most 147s ever.
Yeah.
He's only behind
I did
and
put
Hendry.
a fiver on Stuart Bingham.
Oh, come on, Bingham.
I did put a fiver on Stuart Bingham because I thought, Bingham, even if he only wins one frame, could win that with a 145 or something, I think the bookies have misunderstood the snooker market of that. Very rarely does Ronnie O'Sullivan get the high break in a tournament. Usually somebody like a Tom Ford or a Stuart Bingham or a Dominic Dale goes and makes a 147.
Well, Noppon made the 147 in the qualifiers.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a pretty bizarre one, but yeah, could be a big money maker if you put your money in the right place. That one.
That's our regular feature, Bet Joe, where Joe comes in with his tip of the week.
Yeah, it'll be the Bet Joe World Championship next year.
I hope so, mate. I hope so. That's why the betting market is clearly not. They don't know what they're doing because they're not sponsoring it anymore. So they've just completely. If it was Betfred and they sponsored it,
I just think it was a completely bizarre odds to have. They had the likes of Tom. I mean, Robert Milkins is the second longest favourite for the World Championship. Robert Milkins, even though he's a top 16 player, he was 150-1. Dominic Dale's the longest odds at 250-1. I don't know why they hate Dominic Dale so much, but but yeah, Dominic Dale's 250-1. Rob Milkins 150-1. Everybody else is 125 or less. So,
but madly, Dominic Dale is ahead of Brissell on the 1 year ranking list. So technically, he already had a better chance than Brissell at the start of the tournament because he's in better form. So I don't know. Yeah. And he's won at the Crucible
It's just completely bizarre. It's clearly, people don't know the market. I'm just checking whether that. It seems like they've taken those odds away now. So maybe it was just before the tournament started that they were offering those things. But
okay, the Bet Joe market has already closed. I'm afraid
the Bet Joe market's over. Robbie Williams has gone to 250-1 now to win the whole thing. So, so Robbie Williams and Dominic Dale aren't fancied too much by the bookies. Not
quite the bookies, Joe. But I was looking at the event predictions, and there's a bit where you can look at like the title favourites, and I think something like 40. I think it was like 60% of people would say Ronnie and stuff like that, and they had all the different people have chosen. One person predicted David Gilbert, one person predicted Stuart Bingham, but two people predicted Robbie Williams.
And also, I think I saw a tweet this morning from that. 4 people went for Judge Trumo. So,
I think Trumo's got a chance.
Yeah, more chance than Jason Tart, perhaps, but yeah.
Well, that was clearly a weird glitch in the event prediction, which does happen occasionally, because I saw someone else, like their pick for the first round was Mark Selby / Lee Pei Fan. And I was like, what? They weren't...
Okay.
I don't even understand how that has happened, because Selby's a seed. Payfan, I don't even know if he was even in the qualifiers. If he was, I don't think he won his first match.
Just, yeah, it's it's funny how those things happen, isn't it? But yeah, Judd Trumo, make sure you get your bets in for Judd Trumo. Nice and quick. But just looking, Tom, it looks like Joe O'Connor's won the first frame against Mark Selby, so there you go. But that was day one, and in general we won't be talking about the whole day because we'll be recording these in the evening, so it'll be more the last 24 hours of what's happening, because we'll generally be recording these during the evening sessions of the days and sort of reflecting on the afternoon session, morning session, and the previous evening session. So, yeah, just a special one for you today since it was the first day of the tournament and obviously that big shock with Luca Brissell. But, yeah, any final thoughts on day one of the championship?
Not really, no. It's been fairly... It doesn't feel like it's got going yet. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes you have all the build-up, all the excitement, and then the first day can feel a bit like it's not properly sort of into the groove yet. And then after a few days is when you really feel, oh, okay, this is the championship. You know, once the all the stars have played. Once you've seen a bit of Ronnie and a bit of Selby, a bit of Bingham, a bit of Williams, a bit of Higgins. Once you've seen a bit of everyone, then you start to go, oh, this is why it's good.
Yeah, a little bit of Higgins on the side. It sounded like that's what you were singing. Yeah,
a little bit of Bingham in my hot tub.
That's another one for our. Sounds like another one for our album. But anyway, yeah, I must admit I thoroughly enjoyed it yesterday. I thought it was great, and it was just funny seeing the old pet hates. I put a tweet out this morning of my pet hates around the World Championship, people moaning about the BBC coverage. Literally, Hazel said in the coverage yesterday, she said, we've got 80 programmes, you can catch every match live all the time on the iPlayer. And we're stopping our coverage for a FA Cup semi-final today, so we've got other things that we need to show, and then people say, Eurosport is better, even though there's adverts after every frame in Eurosport. That's one of the things I really love about the BBC is the analysis in between frames.
Yeah,
the bit where they cut to the Winter Gardens. But anyway, that's one of my pet hates. The other pet hate is people are already complaining about Mark Allen and Sean Murphy commentating while they're still in the tournament, because Mark Allen is commentating this morning on Joe O'Connor and Mark Selby. And Mark had just put a tweet out saying, really looking forward to commentating on this. I'm not playing till Tuesday and Wednesday, so wanted to get into the arena. And somebody said, you shouldn't be commentating while you're still in the tournament, because apparently Mark Allen will listen to some random 50-year-old bloke on Twitter who watches Eurosport coverage anyway.
What, Dave Hendon?
And of course we have, the annual debate of whether the Crucible should be the venue for the World Championship, and it seems to have really come to a head this year. But ultimately, it is there till 2027. I think I'm a piece that will be the last World Championship at the Crucible, because that'll be the 50th anniversary of the Crucible and also the 100th anniversary of the World Championship itself. So I think it would be a fitting end for the Crucible, and I think it will be ultimately.
I would agree, sadly. I think that is the way it looks like it's going. I know that we have had rumblings about it leaving for a long time, like at least 10 years. People about 10 years ago, people were saying it's gonna go to China, it's gonna do this, it's gonna do that. I think with Barry Hearn stepping down, it means it's far more likely to do that, because we don't have someone who cares about the tradition. But 50 years is a great run at a venue when it goes, which I think is sadly the case. It'll be really sad when it goes somewhere else. But there's not much we can do as fans. We can just,
Yeah, enjoy it, But, I've heard a lot of this idea of knocking down the Crucible and building a new Crucible. And I would rather it just went somewhere else, personally, because I think if you try and recreate the Crucible but with 2,000 seats, it's just not the same. Do you know what I mean? Part of the charm of it is how close it all is. The fact the players have to sit next to each other. It's the only tournament that happens. The fact that Stephen Maguire stood back from a shot yesterday and walked into the back wall, that's the sort of thing that only happens at the Crucible and adds to the tension of it. Yesterday, Dave Gilbert on match ball, got down and then got up again and the audience start laughing. Like, that can only happen there for me. And as knock that down and build a new one, just move somewhere else, in my opinion, because it's going to have the same effect. And people have said, why don't they play another tournament, maybe the UK Championship at the Crucible? But I don't think it would sell out quite as much as it does. There's just a lot of ingredients that make it special at the Crucible at the moment, and I think you take away anything of that, be it the long form matches, you take that away, it ruins it. You take away the Crucible, it ruins it. You take away the World Championship, it ruins that perfect blend. So I think you've just got to shift it somewhere else for me, if that's what they want to do.
Well, I don't think they can just put another tournament there and go, oh, you've got another tournament at the Crucible, because that's, as you say, it's the blend, it's the mix, it's all the kind of things coming together that make it special. And if you put another tournament there, I think the regular Crucible goers, the people of Sheffield, would be well within their rights to go, no, we're not going to watch the UK Championship at the Crucible because we had the Worlds, especially when the UK is only best of 19. I think they'd be...
Yeah, unless you're going to do it in April and pretend it's the World Championship, I
think that's what I actually find very frustrating about the whole debate over whether it should move, because there's loads of people going, it should move, it should be somewhere bigger, it should be somewhere where the prize money is a lot more, it should be, a 10,000-seater in Saudi Arabia with only 10 fans in it. It should be something like that, but the prize money should be £2 million, and you could do that. But then I'm like, well, you could just have another tournament that's like that. We could just have the Saudi Arabian Masters or whatever the new one's going to be called anyway. Yeah. We don't need it to be the World Championship.
Yeah.
There's plenty of tournaments we can have. And
I agree.
I think players love to go, it should be somewhere bigger, but snooker's not going to sell out the O2. It's not going to happen. It won't sell out that many people. I think people need to be a bit realistic of where the sport is in the public consensus. And we're not WWE, we're not tennis, we're not the World Cup. It's not. It's very easy for players and fans to go, it should be somewhere bigger, it should be much more money. But snooker's in the best place it's been for decades right now. Like, the prize money is bigger than it's ever been. The World Championship prize pot is bigger than it's ever been. And I find it strange how many people, how many players are complaining when I'm like, you've got it better than ever. In terms of all those things that you're complaining about, in terms of the prize pot and in terms of a worldwide global audience, you've got it better than you've ever had it. And I just think there'll be so many logistical problems that could come with it being in China every year or in Saudi Arabia every year that...
Well, the British fans aren't going to get to go.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that, and that's you could argue, okay, the Chinese fans can't come to the World Championship at the moment, but or can't as easily, I suppose, but... it just feels like it's a debate that's going to rumble on. We know it will, and I think we're all we all kind of know deep down what is going to happen. And I think after that, they're going to completely change the format of it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a best of 19 final, to be honest with you. But we saw yesterday, Luca Bracel was 6-3 up and lost 10-9. There's just, you can't replicate that in a best of 7 or best of 9 or whatever it would be. Probably best of 11, because the other Triple Crown events are best of 11 up to the final. So, ultimately that's going to end up happening. They'll probably say, right, we're going to have a flat 1-2-8 draw for the World Championship, and, even the qualifiers are ruined by that. And, I think they've got to be very, very careful with it, because, as we've said, there's a very special blend of what goes on in only the World Championship that makes it what it is, and there's a reason why it's just as captivating in 2024 as it was in 1984, because they've not really changed the format at all since then. So we'll see, but I'm sure we'll talk about it again. But fingers crossed it they see sense, and as you say, make those bigger tournaments. Maybe make the Masters. Put the Masters in Saudi Arabia, or put the UK. I was going to say put the UK Championship in Saudi Arabia. You couldn't do that, but
well, they did have during COVID. Didn't they have the Scottish Open in Milton Keynes? So it could happen.
Well, I think it was last year they had the Scottish Open in Llandudno in Wales. So yeah,
I love it. Absolutely love it.
That's what a laughing stock snooker is, and they think they can be taken seriously on the world stage of. Alongside tennis, alongside golf, it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. Not at the moment, anyway. When your 3 biggest players are nigh on 50, and there's not a lot else going on with it. What I can compare it to is darts. When darts split, and the BDO World Championship, that stayed on the BBC until, I don't know, maybe 2017, 2018, the BDO Darts World Championship, and people would still tune in every year. It was at the Lakeside, which was its traditional venue, and then all of a sudden BBC dropped the rights to it. It went to Channel 4, lasted 2 years before it went bust, right? That is exactly what will happen to snooker, because as soon as snooker leaves the Crucible, the BBC are going to pull the plug, because they're not going to send Hazel and Steve and John out to Saudi Arabia, and they're not going to want to do that. John and Dennis will be too old to go over there and spend 17 days out in Saudi Arabia. That's not going to happen. BBC drops it. It's maybe picked up by ITV or Channel 4 within a few years. You look at the viewing figures, and ITV4 are raving about 750,000 views. If that's what we want the World Championship to become, then that's what will happen if we mess with this very special blend that's currently there. And then there'll be no prize money.
Oh, standing ovation for Joe, everyone. I think we should send this to Jason Ferguson and WST and all those naysayers and go, look, this is the passion people have. This is why you shouldn't mess with the system. You shouldn't try and move it, because, it works. Surely there's something for saying that. It's been 50 years there and it still works. Surely that should be...
Yeah. It's not as if it's a loss-making event. Do you know what I mean?
No, it still sells out every kind of event. It still has millions of people who watch it. There's still players who love playing there. Keep it there.
Absolutely. But, yes, anyway, we'll move on to some more cheery matters. And what we've tried to come up with this podcast is a format, and long-time listeners will know that our 2 staple formats are Cue the Music and Cue the Laughter. Cue the Music is where we'll find some random snooker-related song. It might be a snooker player as an artist singing the song, or it might be just about the game. We'll give it a rating out of 10. We've had some absolute bangers in there. And Cue the Laughter is where we'll pull something, either a video or a piece of snooker merchandise, and we'll have a laugh about it, basically. And I know today, Tom, you have got a Cue the Laughter, haven't you, for us? A very special Cue the Laughter.
Well, it's certainly something. I don't know if I worry it's going to have too much build-up being for the debut episode of the World Championship coverage, but it's one of those. It's one of the latter things that you mentioned. There's a little bit of snooker merch, I think, probably from the 80s, and I think it just really captures that time when snooker was really big, and kids would grow up not wanting to be. They wouldn't want to be Kevin Keegan, or they wouldn't want to be Bruce Grobbelaar or something. They'd want to be Dennis Taylor. They'd want to be Steve Davis back then. So I think this kind of captures that spirit to me. Have a look at that, Joe.
The stage, right? Let's have a look. Oh. Snooker 4 knitting patterns by Gary Kennedy. Wow.
Shout out Gary if you're listening.
Oh my goodness. So 4 different types of jumper, and one of them is red, black, red, black, red, black, red, black, all the way up to black, red, and then just a yellow 147 question mark.
Yeah.
There you go. Sizes 24 inch to 44 inch. Very good.
I just love the picture of all the kids happily wearing these snooker jumpers. Like, you wouldn't get that nowadays. Kids who go, you know what I want? I want mum to go out, or dad to go out and knit me a snooker jumper. That's what I want for my my Christmas present.
I don't quite understand the third jumper, the brown jumper, with the sort of green triangle and the red triangle, and then multiple green triangles in the middle of it. I don't know what that's meant to represent.
I don't know. I mean, the little boy was quite confused himself, so maybe,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? Do you think these were extras in the Romford rap?
I do hope so. I really do hope so. But I like the box as well. The box looks like a snooker table, which I think is quite fun.
Yes. I mean, what's quite amazing is this guy's selling it for £1.09, but he's posted the pictures of the designs, so there's actually no reason for anybody to buy this because they can just take the pictures.
I would argue, Joe, there's no reason for anyone to buy this full stop, but,
Okay. Fair enough.
But it's from 1986, so it is properly from that era of, as I said, kids wanting to be snooker players and kids kind of growing up, and you'd have the Dennis Taylor poster on your wall or whatever like that. Do you know what I mean? And I think it captures that.
I have a Dennis Taylor poster on my wall. A signed Dennis Taylor poster, actually.
Oh, we need to get you a snooker jumper, Joe. You need to be one of these children. Joe's still a child of the 80s. It's terrifying.
Because it's Dennis Taylor as well, yeah. Yeah. But that's a cracker, Tom. Well, a good find, that one. I don't know how Tom finds some of these things. We've had snooker bedding. We've had snooker trading cards. Kellogg's snooker figures.
Mm.
Yeah. There you go.
But there we go, Joe. If you want to knit your own snooker jumper, you can buy that knitting pattern or just print it off. Save yourself the £1.09 or whatever it was.
I think it was free postage as well, was it?
Oh no, Joe's going to buy it. He's going to buy it. And...
Oh no, £1.90. £1.90.
Buy it.
No, I'm
buy
not buying
it.
it.
Buy it. Buy it.
I'm not buying it.
I tried.
You've made me buy a lot of stuff. I'm not buying that.
I tried, listeners. I've tried to make them buy the knitting.
And also the sketches of Liang Wenbo and Rob Walker. Yeah, that was another one, wasn't it?
Yep, they were there.
They're actually sat near me somewhere.
That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. They're sat near me somewhere. I don't know where.
It's just going to pop up with Liang Wenbo's face over the screen. Who I said looked like a Liang Wenbo Sean Murphy love child.
Oh, horrible, a horrible mental image that is.
Anyway, Tom.
There we go. That's day one.
I think we've reached the end, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. The end of time. So there we go. That's the end of our day one recap, our day one kind of roundup. We'll be back every sort of day. I don't actually know what time these are going to come out. We'll probably aim for some point in the morning for these to come out, recapping the previous day. And each day throughout the championship, we'll have a little recap, a little feature. This will probably be the longest one because it's the first day and we have the excitement and the talk about the possible movement. So it's going to be a bit of a longer one today, but we hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe and like, and if you've got any snooker mates, let them know, because what other snooker podcast is trying to flog snooker jumpers from the 80s? None. There's no podcast doing that, Joe.
And there's a good reason for that.
If we see someone wearing those jumpers at the Crucible next week, we'll know they listen.
Yes, I mean, it could well be me and Rachel, but...
don't tease me, Joe. Please. I've never been so excited.
Well, I'm sure you won't sleep.
I won't, mate. I won't. I'm going to be peeking at the TV, looking out for you in your lovely 147 jumper. But yeah, it's been good fun. We'll let you all get back to the snooker, and we'll see you tomorrow.